Yeah, welcome to the Lethal Collective. How's it going, everybody? I am your host, as always, Jake. Always the host. You're muted, Fate.
The hostess with the mostest.
The hostess with the mostest. Hell yeah, hell yeah. What is up, everybody? What is up, party people? Welcome to the Lethal Collective. It is just a half of the collective today because everyone dropped out at like the last minute, which is always fun. I love when that happens. It's always a good time. Tori is here. What's up? What's up? Howdy hey. Howdy hey, howdy hey. Kirby from Scream 6 is here. Hello, Night Craven, Fate, and Jake. I love how we're the last two people in that. That's really funny. And the beautiful people in the chat. Hell yeah, Kirby. Love it. Russell is here too. What's up, everyone? I smashed the like button before I came in this awesome stream and chat. Happy Friday, everyone. Hell yeah, Russell. Welcome. Jen is here too. Hey, guys and gals. Howdy hey. Howdy hey. Happy Friday. Love that it's Friday. Hell yeah. 40 and Fandomus is here saying finally making it to another Friday live stream. Yeah, let's get this party started, baby. Ugh, let's go. Good stuff. Bipolar is here too. What's up? Hello, everyone. Hello. Sarah's here. Me and Sarah are getting on a stream later tonight. Nice. What's up, Sarah? How's it going? Welcome. And Omni is here as well. What's up? How's it going? Yo, Dino is loving the music. Thank you. I appreciate that. I was on a certain substance and made that the other night. So that's all I can legally say. So there you go. Twisted Pictures is here saying made it just in time. Nice. Good. Hey, everyone. Jake, Fate, Night, and Craven. Wherever they are. Hello, Carrie. Carrie craves cinema. Yes. Jordy is here too. Howdy, hey. And Glory. What's up, everybody? Big collective hello to everybody. We're going to start talking about some stuff. I don't even know what we're going to talk about, Fate, but it's going to be fun. It's going to be a great time. And I hope you guys have a good time here hanging out with us on the collective. So, Fate. Life.
Yes.
How's it going?
It's going. It's going. You know, we're here. You know, we're doing this collective thing. We got all these beautiful people in the chat. And, yeah, we're going to talking about the new edition of Teletubbies, right? They're remaking Teletubbies, and yeah.
That's all we're gonna talk about the whole stream. Yep, just Teletubbies. That's it. I hope that's what you guys are looking for. Mitchell is here too, saying "Sup, guys." I like when we throw a lot of P's in things. You know what I'm saying, Fate?
Nothing like a good P.
Nothing like a good PP. That's what I say.
Yeah. Double P's.
Double P's. Oh yeah. Extron is here too. What's up? What? Go ahead. No. You were gonna say something, Fade. Hit me with it.
I was gonna say, what? So Melissa Barrera, you know, for those that don't know, she's Sam in Scream. Sam is a character that is in the new Scream movie. Maybe you're not familiar, but Melissa Barrera, did an interview and talked about gore, right? And we, you know, this is supposed to be really gory, you know, Carnage Candy, to you know, reference Randy, which seems to be a trend, right? We had Jen Ortega talk about that. We had, you know, now Melissa Barrera. They both have kind of said the same things, but I have some concerns, you know, because you don't want gore for the sake of gore. You know, I do like some gore, you know, and especially it's a slasher, it's a horror movie, right? So, you know, doll it up a little bit. But like Jen Ortega said, distraction, right? Like the kills, stuff like that are distractions. Do you have any concern at all that the gore might take away from the actual film? Or like, what are your thoughts on like a gory Scream movie?
So that's what I've been hearing that a lot. I've been getting a few comments about, I've been talking about that. And I've been saying like, I don't think that they're talking like Terrifier 2 levels of gore. You know what I mean? I don't think it's going to be to that point where it's like almost played for laughs and like that's the whole focus of it. I really don't think that's going to be the case. Like, don't expect the salts and the bleach and all that. Don't expect Ghostface to come on in with all that, you know, and just like pour it on Sam's neck or something. Yeah, no, I wouldn't expect that from this from this movie. I think they're just gonna up the quality of the kills. Essentially, they're just gonna make them bloodier, gorier, people getting ripped in half, environmental kills, stuff like that, stuff that works with New York City. I did a whole video today talking about the subway kill. And some more details that were outlined from that. And I said it will probably be a little more over the top, but still bound in reality, I think. And I think Chad, Matt, and Tyler all understand that from Radio Silence. I think they understand what franchise they're in, but they still want to up the ante with some of the gore and some of the kills, which I kind of agree with them based off of what I've heard from Melissa and Tara and Jenna Ortega. I mean, what they've talked about with it is they had these like gory dreams that they wanted to come true with the Scream films. And I think that's a good direction for this franchise. I think the kills could get a little crazier, and that's probably the only big thing I would want to change. Personally, but I just don't want to. I do agree with you. I understand the concern. I don't want to get so far down the line that that's what it's just focused on and becomes the thing that it's been parodying this whole time.
Yeah, well, I mean, Scream 5 had pretty gory moments, right? Like Wes's death. Like, yeah, it wasn't like, you know, this blood fest, but that was a pretty gnarly kill, right? Where he's like pushing the thing into his neck. Obviously the Amber reveal, right? Like Liv gets her brains blown out and there's all the splatter on the like. So I'm all for that, especially with like a darker, more, you know, intense ghost face, stuff like that. I am all for it. I just don't want to see them take away from like specific scenes. You know what I mean? Like, because we've all seen a movie where it's like, okay, that was clearly just gory for the sake of gory. Again, it is a slasher movie. Yeah. It is a horror movie, right? Like people are getting killed. And I mean, Scream has always been pretty gory for its time, right? I mean, 96, like that, like the Casey Becker scene was a pretty gory scene for 96. Yeah. And much so they actually had to cut some of it out because they needed to get an R rating. So like we've had gory Scream films. I just don't want it to like take away from like the point of the scene. You know what I mean? Like I don't want, because like, you know, like I made the video talking about the gore thing, and one of the things that I compared it to was Terrifier 2, right? And like a lot of like reviews and a lot of people like talking about it in general, it's all about like the gore. And it's like, well, what scenes do you remember? And it's like, well, like, you know, it ends up leading to the gore. And it's like, that's great, and it's great for that. But I don't want, like, you know, you don't want a scene that is supposed to be, you know, like a hard-hitting scene or like an important death or something like that, and you can't remember the scene because the only thing you remember is Ghostface just pulling someone's guts out. You know, like, you don't want that because that's what the audience can remember. So, like, I am all for the gore. I am all for upping the kills. I am all for just like a brutal, more intense Scream movie. But I want it to be within like, you know, certain parameters. I don't want it to get too carried away to where now you're just like, all right, like, can we get like, without ruining the scene for people. So I won't go in, but you probably know the scene I'm talking about with one of the girls, you know, at the bed. You had him, and it's like, and we've talked about the scene. It was such a great scene, and you hit your point and you delivered, and then you just kept going with it and going with it and going with it. And by the time we got to the end of the scene, I was just like, I don't remember why I enjoyed the scene to begin with, because you just you got your point across. You had this impactful scene, this memorable scene. Like, and I like Terrifier 2. I'm talking about like that scene specifically. And it was just like, you did such a great job. The reaction, you know, as a parent, I'm like, oh man, like I couldn't imagine that. You got everything across. And then it was just like, let's just keep adding to it. You know, let's do the little animatronics. Like, and I was just like, by the time we got through that scene, it was just like, you're so far removed from the actual point, you don't really keep that scene anymore. It just ruined the scene. I don't want that to happen in Scream. Like, I don't want to be like in a scene, you hit on that scene, the scene's great, and then it just kind of falls flat, because by the time you get through the scene, it's just like all you can remember is the over-the-top gore. But
Yeah, no, that's not it. Scream is not the franchise for that. You know, like I'm down for some gorier kills, but it doesn't need to be on the level of Terrifier 2. And I think that's why when people nowadays, when people hear gore, this is, in my opinion, this is a good thing. But when people hear the words gore now, they think Terrifier 2, because I think Terrifier 2 just upped the ante when it came to all of that. And I like, to me, I've just never seen a movie attempt something so ambitious like that scene, for instance, that just keeps going, and you're like, oh my god, like this is crazy. How like it's probably the worst fictional death I've ever seen on screen before. It was
brutal and intense. my problem was, it was the type, like if you would have done that extended on like some other person, I think it would have worked. But like the point of it was the mother, right? Like coming home, you know, all that stuff. Again, I don't want to give too much away without ruining it, but you know, it's like you know, that scene, it's like you had this hard hitting moment. Like if they would have just had that, and then like she comes on the aftermath, cool, right? Because the last thing you remember is the reaction, and it's like, man, you just had this intensity. I felt like they did that scene backwards. You know, it was like you had this like crazy kill, you had the reaction, and then you just kept going with it.
We'll talk. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a second, because Carrie had a good comment. I have a few thoughts on that. But Kirby threw $2 into the pot. Thank you so much, Kirby. We really appreciate that support. Saying hello, Amazing Four. that's funny. It's yes, 2 of the Amazing Four is not here. Nowhere to be found, unfortunately. But they hopefully they'll be back next time. That would be great. How many Screams do you think we will get? I don't. You know, this is a great question. Fate, how many more do you think we get after 6?
So I definitely think we get 7. I think we round out this trilogy. I think there's a hiatus, and then, you know, however many, maybe 3 years, 4 years, 5 years. I think there's a little bit of a hiatus, and then they kind of not like full reboot of the franchise, but you know, because Scream, you don't have to reboot it, right? Because it's always a different person. But you know, I think they move away from the Sydney Gale, because I think these next 2 films are going to give you a really good idea of like, can the Scream have success without Nev and without Sydney and without the OG3? And I think if it does, I think with the right kind of success, they just keep going. But I think very likely they round out the Billy arc and the Sydney arc and go through all that and round out those bloodlines. You have that conclusion in Scream 7. Then we get a little hiatus, and then we probably pick up with like a new group and a new Ghostface and a new motive and a new reason that has nothing to do with the whole Billy thing. That would be my guess. I mean, they could go forever, technically. You know, I mean, you could have a new Scream every year for now into infinity, as long as you can tell a good story and have good writing, and you know, because the beauty
have it be relatable to whatever's going on right now,
on the current climate and stuff like that. And because I mean, the beauty is it's not like a Michael or a Freddy or a Jason or something like that, to where it's always somebody new. So as long as you have like the motive and you know the social not social commentary, but the meta aspects, and as long as you have like, you know, what Scream inherently is, you could just keep going.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. I do think we could just keep making these movies. As far as Radio Silence's involvement, right now I do think they'll do a 7. But what has me curious though is that they're gonna reboot Escape from New York. Like that's apparently set in motion. I don't know. This might be their last Scream movie. I don't know. I'm not 100% sure, but I don't think that means the franchise is over or anything like that. Like, let's say if 6 comes out in March, it's gonna do well. Like, there's gonna be more Scream movies in the future, without a doubt. But will we get anything like from Radio Silence though? I'm still on the fence. I'm still leaning towards yes, they will do a 7. Everyone's been doing trilogies nowadays, so of course we're gonna make this a trilogy, even if it doesn't need to be. That's what we found out, is we're still just gonna make 3 movies anyways because money. But hopefully that's not the case here. I'm really excited to see what they do with 6 and hopefully a 7 moving forward. That would be great, but I wouldn't say, oh, that's gonna be it for the Scream franchise. No, they will keep this going for a long time. I mean, this franchise revolves around horror commentary and great characters, great Ghostface killers. They could, like I said, I mean, they could keep making these movies forever, I think, and I think that would be awesome. I'm really excited to see what they do with with this new one and see what else they can do without Sidney Prescott there, especially. So that's going to be really telling if this franchise has a future or not, if they can make movies without Sidney or not. We'll just have to see. But this is going to be a really important movie for the franchise, though, and for the longevity of the franchise. So I'm excited to see what they do with it. It's exciting stuff. Very exciting stuff. But going back to something Carrie said, speaking about what we were just talking about Terrifier 2, Carrie says, I watched Terrifier 2 and I felt there was more to it than gore. Yes, there was over-the-top gore, but there was a pretty good story as well. How do you feel about the overall story for Terrifier 2, Fate?
It's kind of hard when it's not a complete story. You know, it's hard to really judge something when it's half, like, you know, I mean,
you don't like that, do you?
I don't mind it, but I just felt the way that they structured it wasn't very good. Like, I felt there were like a lot. I felt like it wasn't like a smooth story. Like, I felt like, you know, it was like, here's a little piece of information, and then boom, crazy gory kill, and then you're just like, okay, and then it's like, here's another little piece of, and they didn't really put together the breadcrumbs that you already established, and it was just clunky. And now maybe the next Terrifier, it'll all smooth it out, and like you'll have an understanding and stuff like that. But this was supposed, like, based on what, you know, Damien Leone said, like, this was supposed to be more story driven. This was supposed to be more, and I felt like it really wasn't. There clearly was a story behind it, but I just, like, you know, like, what's going on with the father? Is the father, you know, art, right? Like, and even Damien Leone teased that, right? Like, you know, how many of you think that, you know, is it, you know, what's up with the sword? What's up with the drawings? What's up with the paint? Like, there's so many questions that need to be answered, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with, you know, having a cliffhanger ending, but I just felt like there wasn't enough information along the way to really get you pumped about what was left off. You know, like, so take for example, just because it's the first that popped in my head, like, take like Infinity War. Now, obviously, Terrifier 2 is not to the scale, but I mean, writing wise, you had these stages that led to the end result, and it had so many questions left over that were answered in the next installment, right? Like, that's usually how cliffhangers go, right? You have the build up, the understanding of the initial story, and then you have the end result kind of left open in the air, and now we got to go to the next film to do that.
What do you think is missing from Terrifier 2? That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like, what piece of that is missing from the Terrifier 2 pie?
So here, okay, let me put it like this. What do you think the story was about?
I think the story centers on the family drama. Like, to me, like, what I really liked about it was it centered on a really nice family drama with a very specific dynamic. It's not your typical family. The dad is gone, dead, whatever, and the mom is just trying her best to keep this all together with kids who aren't doing very well in school and all that. I liked everything going on there. I think it is very open-ended. It's leading into a third movie for sure. But for me, I like that. I like when not everything gets answered and it's setting up something for the future. I dig that about movies typically, but I get what you're saying. It's like, man, I wish we gotten some answer. We didn't really get any answers, so I get it. Yeah,
well, here's the thing though, is that, like, so I agree that it had the family dynamic, right? And they did a great job of hitting that. But that was like the sub story to the main story that they were trying to build, which is Art the Clown, the dad's involvement, what is Art, what's with this little girl, what's with, like, and that was all just like, it was almost like they were just throwing little pieces at you, and, you know, like, they're throwing pieces, like crumbs at you, and you have to try to turn the crumbs into a whole cake, and you're just like,
yeah.
I felt like it was focused on everything else but the story that you're trying to drive. I would have liked a more, like, crisp, clean story. Like, okay, you have the family drama and all that going on, great, like, that's fine, but, like, dive into some of the lore, you know, like the brother, like, you had a real opportunity with him. He was the one that was kind of piecing stuff together, right? Like, you should have had a scene or two where he's, like, diving into dad's books and dad's information, and he's, like, you know, putting this all together. It was just kind of like, oh yeah, dad has these drawings, oh, we've been looking for this journal for the last, you know, 30 years or whatever, you know, and it's like, you've had it the whole time, and it's like, well, yeah, like, you know, like, I just felt the story was just, it was, instead of it being just like, here's pieces throughout, it was like, here's one piece, oh, and then this piece over here doesn't really make sense with this last piece over here, but this piece over here makes sense with that piece. So, oh, wait a minute, if you take this piece over here and you put it with that one.
So that's another that I got to disagree with you on, because like I get the not everything was answered. I see being frustrated with that. I personally am like, I'm just glad there was a story for me personally. I'm like, there was a story, and it was emotional. I was really sad when a certain character died. I know not everyone has been able to see it yet. But I really enjoyed that about this movie. That was a big step up. I also view Terrifier 2 as the first movie in the actual story. Like, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, I feel like Terrifier 1 is kind of like a prequel in a way. Because, like, everything that happens in Terrifier 1 is literally just a sentence in Terrifier 2. And I feel like that's... I don't know, to me, I really like that angle to it. Like, that Terrifier 2 is kind of like the first one, setting up all the characters, setting up the story. So that's how I viewed it. I didn't view it as the sequel to the first movie. This was the movie introducing all of the characters, elements, and all that. And then Terrifier 3 is going to be the sequel that gives you some of the answers, not all of them. That's how I imagine it's going to go, and that's why he set it up this way. But me personally, that doesn't bug me. Like, I don't need the answers to enjoy a film. I like stewing in the mystery a little bit. I think that's fun.
I like the mystery too. I just felt like the setup of the mystery wasn't as well executed as it can be. You know what I mean? And like, there's always going to be flaws. There's always going to be.
It was vague, but like, what specifically don't you like about it? Because like, I like the vagueness of it. I like that we barely have any answers, barely have anything to go off.
Yeah, but we barely have any information, period, to go on. You know, like we know, like, so like my point is that like if you're going to add that to the film, either give enough of an understanding of like, okay, something is going on. Like this dad, like what is the time frame? You know what I mean? Because like I'm trying to tiptoe around this without ruining the movie. Like, you know, what is the time frame in which you know, the dad had this information? Is this like some, you know, distant? It's like reading the back of a book, you know, and like it gives you like a piece or two, but you have to read the book to understand why those two pieces make sense. That's kind of how I feel about this movie. It was like they gave us just like, you know, a handful of things for us to stew over, which is fine, but like they didn't give you a painted idea of what's to come. Usually good movies and good writing, they'll be very vague and they'll keep you guessing, but they give you an idea of like, you know, so your imagination can kind of run wild. I feel like this movie just kind of was like, here's some pieces that we're going to explore later on down the future. Look forward to that. And everyone's just like, okay, cool. You know, like, but it doesn't spark any ideas. It doesn't spark any, like, you know, it's like,
I don't know. I mean, in my head, I'm like, how is the sword and like her, like she has that like light coming out of her wound and all that. There's something more to all of this. It's hard to connect right now, I think, but I think that's also kind of the point. You know what I mean? Like, it's like Damien didn't want us to, in this time between Terrifier 2 and 3, which is an indefinite period. I mean, the guy hasn't even written the script yet. I don't think he wanted anybody to figure it out. So I think that's why he made it so vague without a definite future. I like, personally, I understand the choice, but I get what you're saying. I see being frustrated by that, but I kind of like that we have no idea what we're in for Terrifier 3. And I think in a way, yes, Damien may not know the full picture. I think he has an idea, an outline of like what's going to happen next, or if there's future movies past that. But I think the big thing about it is that he doesn't even know if he didn't like putting Terrifier 2 out that.
But that's my point. Like, it seems like this was an idea that he didn't really have a true story to. You know,
but that's okay. That's okay to me. Like, I'm fine with that, because that means Terrifier 3 can be something even bigger or about the same, or maybe it needs to tone down. He kind of put this movie, how I see it is he put this movie out there to see what the reaction would be to it. People loved it. It made $10 million. That's fucking insane for an indie movie. Now I feel like he's going to decide to take it to either the next level or somewhere else, somewhere a little more fantastical. I feel like we might be getting like a Dream Warriors vibe with like Terrifier 3 a little more. There was like elements of that in 2, but I feel like it's going to go even more fantastical for 3. And I think this was a movie where, once again, he was testing the waters. It's a larger audience seeing it this time around. It was in theaters. It's on streaming. It's way bigger than the first one. The first one's like a cult classic. This one is like something way bigger than that. So I think this was, yes, a testing the waters film, and that's why it was so vague. But moving into 3, I think we're going to have a much more clearer outline of what it's all going to be. It's no longer, hey, I'm this underground guy trying to make things work and see what works for the big stuff. This is now this is going to be a confident, here's some of the answers, and a big, crazy, awesome film altogether. So I don't know. I feel like you're going to like 3 more than 2, and I'm going to feel the opposite. I think I'm going to like 2 more than 3 because I like the mystery and all that. Like, I'm someone who likes Infinity War more than I like Endgame personally.
Yeah, well, I like the mystery too. I just felt like the structure wasn't great. Like, it's like doing a video with just the intro. Right? Like, it's like, where's the rest of the video?
I don't know about that. I feel like we got a little more.
He basically gave you an idea that he didn't really have information to expand on and set up. So I just felt like the delivery of the information wasn't tempting enough. You know what I mean? Like, I love a good cliffhanger. I mean, my favorite show ever is Supernatural. Every season ends on some crazy cliffhanger with 1,000 questions that need to be answered in the next season, and then they do that. So, like, I am all for a good cliffhanger, but the storytelling, it gives you these little pieces throughout, and it's so well put together. It's almost like he was coming up with things on the fly. And that's how the movie was presented.
I don't know if I feel that. I don't know if I feel that way. The one thing I do feel strongly for is I feel like he doesn't have a completely 100%. I don't think he has a 100% vision as to where it's going. Yeah. But I think he has an idea. Like, once again, I feel like he's about like maybe 70% there.
Text him right now. Tell him to come on.
Sure. Let's get some answers. Maybe he'll give us something.
He messaged us both, so maybe we can get him to talk.
I would lose my mind if I got to talk to him about just anything.
Just be like, dude, I don't want him to come up. Like, I enjoyed the movie for what it was. I'm not saying like I didn't like the movie. I liked the movie. I just, there's just things that I was like, constructive criticism. And I put it in perspective.
I'm also not saying that the story was like the best thing I've ever seen on screen or anything like that. I just think for how big of an improvement that movie is over the original, I was massively blown away by it. And like another big thing is long movies don't keep my attention. Like 9 times out of 10 they don't. And from start to finish of Terrifier 2, I was digging it. Like, that's very, very rare. I like me a good 85-minute movie. I love when movies are short because you can do a lot in that time period and then leave your audience wanting more. That is those are the kind of movies I want to make personally, where they're short and they leave you wanting more. And some people don't like that. Some people get pissed off by things like that. But that to me that's the best kind of movie you can make, because then there's always room for more stories to be told in that universe, or not. Or you can just leave it up to the imagination. I like when I don't like movies where you watch them and you have a good time with them, but then afterwards you can't talk about them. Like, there's nothing to talk about.
Nothing to add to it. Yeah,
most Marvel movies are that way for me, and I'm like, it's awesome when I'm watching them, but afterwards nothing's going on up here when I'm watching that movie. I love that about horror movies, that we can, afterwards, it's like, oh, well, what do you think about this little detail? Like, oh, well, maybe Terry could have bitten into the rat at this point. You know what I mean? Like, I love talking things like that with people after a movie. But Omni is throwing $2 in there, by the way. Omni, once again, thank you so much for your support. Saying, of the new 4, who do you want to carry on past 7? So of our core 4 characters, Mindy, Chad, Sam, and Tara, who do we want to carry on past 7?
Probably the Carpenter sisters. I wouldn't be shocked if everybody but Sam dies before it's all said and done. But I think the Carpenter sisters are I think they're the most likely to survive. The Meeks twins, I just felt like we didn't get enough from them. Like, I don't know how I feel about them. Like, I don't hate their characters, but I don't really love their characters. I felt like they were just kind of there. You know what I mean? In Scream 5, I felt like they were just like, oh yeah, and the Meeks twins. You know what I mean? Rather than
Mindy had a few really good lines. Chad didn't have as many moments. He had a few good, like the him and Liv on the couch was pretty funny.
Yeah.
And then he's like, "Fuck you, Mindy." That's kind of funny.
There was a moment here and there. Not just that, but I felt like they kind of tried to make Mindy very unlikable, but without a payoff. She was very snobby, very kind of blunt. Like she just kind of seemed like a little bit of an a-hole. And like we know that that's kind of what they were going for. But usually when you have a character like that, you're trying to get the audience to not like them for a specific purpose. Usually it's like leads to their death or something. So maybe in Scream 6, maybe she's like, maybe she's part of it. She's like a Ghostface, maybe she was part of it all along, or maybe she does die. I hope that they expand on the Meeks twins more. I want more. It's like not just that, but their bloodlines to Randy, right? Like that's legacy character. Like you'd think that they would have hit on them more, especially. And I know Chad was originally he was supposed to die. Like Chad wasn't supposed to be on after this film. They just liked Mason Gooding, so they were like, "Oh, we'll bring you on for another film." So I understand that, but give them a little push. Like I felt like the Carpenter sisters were kind of got the most attention, obviously, which makes sense. The story was about them. But even that, I felt like what they didn't do. I felt like the character development in 5 in general wasn't very great. I felt like they could have done a better job.
The big thing I'm noticing watching it back again is it's kind of like they give all the characters these weird traits so that you think they're the killer. But it doesn't. Most of those things don't go anywhere. Like you're saying with Mindy, like she's really abrasive specifically to Liv the whole movie. Like she's constantly saying negative things to just Liv, not really anybody else. And the whole time you're like, man, is she sus or is this just a weird out of place character thing? And it is a little out of place. I don't hate Mindy though. Like I think she's just the writing on her character was just a little weird. It's the same thing with like Wes and even Chad a little bit too. Wes has the whole it's all just little things that are underdeveloped. Like if these elements to these characters were a little more development, like I said, if there was like 10-15 more minutes of this movie, I feel like it would flow a little better. But Wes is another good example because like he has this whole thing set up where he's kind of in love with Tara and all that, and that just goes nowhere. Like it is pointless to a certain degree, and it's weird that they have such a magnifying glass on it, like for a couple scenes in the movie. I just wish we had gotten a scene with him in the hospital with Jenna Ortega being a little creepy, just being like, I can get you whatever you want. You know what I mean? Like I'll be right here, right by you the whole time. Like just total like creep vibes,
Like Olga from Hey Arnold, he just
Tara, I'm your biggest fan.
No, I agree. I felt like a lot of it led to nothing. Like you know what I mean? Like, and the problem is it's probably going to be the same approach in this upcoming, especially with as many characters as there are. Like I don't see them properly developing all these characters. There's literally like 15 characters we know of right now. And there's probably going to be more that, there's going to be the surprise cameos. There's going to be like, the random, like the two detective characters. There's going to be these random characters that we're going to see throughout that, have a scene here and there. And it's just like, you're probably going to have some like professor, like scene or whatever. It's just like, I don't know. I felt like, and I've said this on several occasions, I feel like the more Scream has gone on, the less character-driven stories have become prominent, like the development. Like Scream
4 though, dude.
Scream 4 didn't develop everybody. It did a great job developing Kirby and developing Jill, right? Outside of that, like who else did they really develop? Like Trevor
that's fair. Okay, that's
Trevor
fair.
had like 3 scenes in the entire movie. Like none of like even the killers. Like you weren't familiar with them to where like Charlie reveal was like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like what?
That's okay. That I will agree with you. But Jill and Kirby are such memorable characters, and you spend the most time with them anyways. Like Trevor is really the only reason he even exists is to be a red herring, and he's barely in the movie. So like that to me is okay. Like I'm like okay, that's fine. He's in like fucking 3 or 4 scenes or something, and he barely serves a purpose. He's just supposed to be the stand-in Billy Loomis, and I'm like okay, that's fine. Whatever. Who cares? But Jill's character development and Kirby's character development is fantastic, in my opinion. I don't know. Like, I love those are standout Scream characters for me. They're easily in my top 10, both of them. I really like them. But, Omni, well, sorry, we're getting so far away from your question. I just love, I could talk about this shit all day. I could be live for 10 hours and probably still going, but I would sound like this. Omni, anyways, though, of the 4, gonna be honest, I hope they all die. Like, Like, not that I hate them or anything like that, but it's like, you know, Sydney had this super powerful and great story to cap off 3, and like she ends it with a super happy thing and all that, and she's with all of her friends. We're gonna watch a movie and all that. It's great. I want the exact opposite for all of our new characters. Like, I just think that would be so much fun to have a really dark ending here. I want 6 to get dark, and I want 7 to get even darker, but that I know that's not going to happen. Like, I can tell you that right now. Like, I know 6 is probably going to be a teensy bit darker, but then if they do make a 7, it's probably going to have a happy resolution because it's Scream. But I don't know. I feel like this franchise could use a mist level ending that would just be so tragic and devastating.
Yeah, we need more scenes in this movie. Like, the reason Scream 1 and 2 did such a great job of developing, even Scream 2 did some lacking, but like, you got so many group scenes that established each character. Like, think of the first scene in Scream 2, not the opening kill. I'm talking about the first scene in Scream 2. You have a scene with the teacher, and you immediately understand, okay, that guy's the killer. Okay, that guy looks like the killer. Guy sounds like the killer. Like, but you didn't care. Like, it was so in your face. So this, but they also established, okay, Mickey's like the Randy, like, you know, that we finally found a match, a rival for Randy. Like, and then you have Randy, and they're going back and forth. And then you have Cece, and she's like the snobby, like, you know, frat girl that's like, she thinks she knows more than everyone else. Like, you hit on these moments. Like, think of Scream 96. You had like the fountain scenes. You had like almost every scene was with multiple characters. You had Randy, Billy, Stu. You had, you know, Tatum, Sydney, Stu. You had Tatum, Sydney. So you were able to build and grow those characters all at the same time, as opposed to just like, you know, here's Sam just plain bagel talking to the detective. It's like, you know, oh no, it's a trap. I need to go save Tara. Like, you know, stuff like that. Like, when I hope Scream 6, especially with so many characters, they need to have group setting shots that really kind of get, like, we have an understanding of, like, I mean, the core 4, you almost never had them together, like all of them together, the entire movie.
Yeah, no, you're right. You're absolutely right. But I feel like the big thing that changed between Screams 1 through 4 and 5 was that we had to write it like a requel, and that was the biggest problem with it, I think. That really needs to. I would never in a million years write a requel. That has got to be one of the toughest tasks to have to do, because you're essentially writing 2 movies at the same time. I hate the formula. I really don't like it. This is something I haven't been very vocal about because I don't want people to like shit on me. But but the requel formula is awful. Like, you're essentially writing 2 movies at the same time with the old characters. You're writing a comeback movie for the old characters and a brand new remake movie all at the same time, and it doesn't work, in my opinion. Like, the best requel is Halloween 2018, and even that has some weird bumpy moments in it. But I think the best, what's great about Scream 6, why I have more faith in it than I do Scream 5, is because they don't have to do that requel angle to it. I'm sad that Sydney's not going to be in it, or Dewey. Trust me, like, that's sad to me. But I think ultimately it's going to be for the better writing-wise, because they can just focus on the new characters and just integrate Gale into that story. That is going to be way easier to write than to write basically 2 stories at the same time that have to clash, that are totally opposite stories coming together. Like, that's a tough task to write. You know what I mean? That's a tough task to ask for anybody to write, basically 2 movies that collide into one thing. That's not easy. It's not 2 subplots. You know, that's one thing, but 2 entire movies put together that somehow make it work. It's just not easy. So that's why I think conceptually I'm already more interested in Scream 6 than I am for Scream 5. I really think it's going to be a better movie just for that. And it makes me sad, you know, like I want to see Sidney Prescott in there, but they keep every horror movie, every big horror franchise has to follow this formula now because Halloween 2018 did it successfully. And that's a shame in my opinion. Yeah. But I don't know. Maybe that's just me. But anyways, Carrie Crave Cinema is throwing something pretty awesome out there, saying at 7:35 Eastern Time, Jake's going to have a live stream with Sarah Campbell and some other person. I wonder who that could be. Yeah, I wonder. I have no idea who else is joining me. So it's Carrie. Spoiler alert. Carrie's gonna actually cut my head off at this point if I keep letting that go. No, I'm gonna be with Carrie and Sarah tonight at 7:35. Check out the stream. It's gonna be fun. We're gonna bullshit about horror movies. It's gonna be a great time.
Nice.
Nice. But yeah, so I don't know. How do you feel about that though, Fate? Like, are you more interested in Scream 6 conceptually or 5?
I'm more interested in Scream 6 because I'm hoping that they go the original route, right? Like, I wanted them to do that in Scream 5. Like, my hope was that but you knew they were going to do Scream 5 exactly the way they did it. You knew it was going to be some bloodline thing. You knew it was going to be tied in, like, and that's the thing that drives me crazy so much. Is like, like, I wanted them to do the complete opposite. But I'm hoping Scream, like, I understand why they did Scream 5 the way they did. Okay, cool. You made the fan film. Cool. You honored Wes.
You made all that fan film. That's just so degrading.
I mean, they even said it was. I mean, it was a fan film. It was 96 modernized in so many ways, and then, and I get it. Like I said, again, I understand it. I get it. They wanted to honor West. They wanted to, they were excited to do this film. They wanted to kind of, and I do appreciate the darker tone, the faster pace, stuff like that. Like, I do think that they did some things. I don't mind the movie. I thought the movie was good. Like I said, I put it up there as, number 2, 3 on my list all time of like Scream movies. So I think it's a good movie for Scream, but I just, I want them to just, you already handcuffed yourself to the Billy Loomis storyline. So you kind of got to continue. Not necessarily. I mean, you could just go a different direction, but kind of handcuffed yourself. Like, everyone knows, like, that's Billy's sister. Not just that, or not sister, daughter. Not just that, but like, the hallucinations and stuff. Like, what are you going to do with that? But I'm hoping that it's like almost like Scream 6 is like the new beginning, right? You got them. You got in the college setting. You got all these characters, all these new characters, kind of orbiting around. But still a new story. Let's go a new direction. Let's not have the boyfriend be the killer. Let's do something. Let's do something creative. Like, show me what you can do. This is your Scream movie. Show me what you could do. I want to see the writers show us, not Scream 2 2.0. I want to see, like, what can you do? I don't mind a couple callbacks. I don't mind a couple nostalgic moments, stuff like that. That's fine. But generalize, when I look back at Scream 6, I want to be able to say, like, man, that was a really good Scream movie. I really liked what they did. Like, that was their own. It wasn't Wes, because you're never going to emulate Wes Craven. So why keep trying? Like, do your own thing. You're not Wes Craven. You're, the writers and your radio silence, stuff like that. So make your movie accordingly. That's my thing.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. That's a big thing that I want from this one too, is just I just wanted to be radio silence's Scream, and if that means a gorier Scream with some crazier chase sequences and all that, like, I'm down. If there's anything I know about this film, is that I really strongly feel like this is going to be the better one of the two from Radio Silence. I know they're going to be a lot more relaxed and focused on certain elements that they want to bring into it, and it's not going to be all over the place. Like, 5 was totally them trying to emulate Wes Craven's style. It doesn't even, to a degree, it doesn't even feel like a Radio Silence movie. Like, if you go back and watch, some elements do, not all of it. Not all of it doesn't feel like that. But then if you go back and watch, like, Ready or Not, or even like Devil's Due, one of those movies, like, there's a certain way they're written and directed. It has a certain style to it. Radio Silence movies, although very inconsistent with their concepts, they all have a certain tone to them that Scream 5 kind of doesn't have consistently. And it's like, sometimes it feels like Wes Craven, sometimes it feels like Radio Silence. You know what I mean? And I think this one is going to just completely feel like Radio Silence, and that's going to be much more consistent.
Do you think this could have the potential to be the best Scream movie?
Not the best, but the best sequel, yes. Like, nothing's going to top the original in my mind. There are 2 horror movies that I just feel like are never going to be topped for importance in the genre, and that's obviously, that just means a lot to me personally. Like, Scream and Halloween are 2 of the most important horror movies that have ever come out, in my opinion. And I don't think anything's going to top that for me personally, because, like, you're always going to have that edge with the original Scream, with how it influenced years and years of horror movies after that. We're still seeing movies come out today that are influenced directly from Scream. Freaky, Happy Death Day, huge movies that totally would not exist without Scream. Like, they are so influenced by Scream. Every single slasher series that is like teen drama mixed with slasher, Pretty Little Liars, all of that shit. You would never have any of those series without Scream. And that is so important for the genre. I don't know. Nothing's going to top that for me. But as far as sequels go, I think every single Scream sequel has a big flaw to it. And they're all different. Like all four of the movies, I mean, have a certain flaw to them that it's like, man, this is so close to being a really well done sequel, but they all just have one little thing about them that kind of irks me. It's a little pain in my anus, as I like to say. I say that a lot, of course, talk about my anus a lot. But Omni is here throwing $2 in there, saying Gale once again, thank you so much, Omni. We appreciate the support. Saying Gale in 6, Sydney absent gives Loomis solo in H4 8 through H6 vibes. Oh man. Would you like to see Gale just lose her fucking mind in this and start going after Ghostface?
Going crazy. I hope they don't go that route. Like, I actually really wouldn't be shocked if Gale dies in this movie. Like, I really wouldn't. So I think we're gonna see Gale. Maybe we see a little more guarded Gale. I think we get I think, Mike, if I had to bet on it, I would say we probably get a closer to 96 Gale. Because the only person that kind of kept her in check was Dewey. Like, now Dewey's gone, I could see her kind of getting back to that cutthroat, B, where she doesn't care about anything. And it kind of falls into like some of the set shots we got, of Gale like pressuring Sam and Tara and stuff like that, where like Gale with Dewey would have been more sympathetic, But now I think we get the Gale that,
yeah.
Like I think we get that. That's the Gale I think we get. I think we get that snob, like almost just like snobby, because I don't want
snobby and like a little more bitter. Yeah. She kind of reverts back to her old self.
Classic Gale. That's what I think we're gonna get.
I'm all about that.
Yeah,
I love that idea.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, because I mean, she doesn't have the one person that kind of kept her
grounded, that kept her grounded, not as emotional.
Yeah, like and would like call out her shit and like keep her, like honest, was Dewey. Like nobody else could do that. She didn't listen to anybody. She didn't care about anybody. Nothing. But Dewey was like that person. Dewey was like the angel on her shoulder that was like, "Hey, you shouldn't be an asshole."
And now that angel is dead. So what happens to Gale a year later? Yeah.
That's what I think.
I gotta admit, I don't think it's gonna be the same type of crazy that Dr. Loomis is, but it's gonna have a similar vibe though. Omni, I do feel you there. Like she's gonna be just, she has the only thing she has to live for at this point is like her work and all that.
Yeah,
so I think she's going to completely invest herself in it. Maybe she's written the book at this point about Dewey. Maybe that's how this movie ends. But I do think that we're going to see a darker side of Gale, kind of reverting back to her Scream 1, Scream 2 days, which I'm all about that. I think that would be awesome to kind of see her now start to revert as a character. It feels very real, very sad. I think that would really work for this film, especially if it's going to have a darker tone too. Show our characters in some pretty bad situations and then maybe elevate that by the end or go deeper into it by the time we get to roll credits. So I don't know, man. Both of those little options sound really cool to me. I'm totally down for that. I also like the idea of Gale just, oh my God, this has happened to me 6 fucking times in my life, just losing her mind. Like she just drops everything she's doing and then just goes after this. Like I want to see the craziest version of Gale. She is done with this bullshit. She's gonna fucking nip it in the bud as fast as she possibly can. So Omni, I'm all about that. I think that's a really interesting angle. I don't know. I dig that personally. I like dark shit. Like I love when things get darker and more upsetting. I know that for some people hear that and they're just like, no, God, give Gale a happy ending. She deserves it. But I kind of want to see where that goes. I want to see where this rabbit hole,
like I've always said,
trails off to.
Not everyone deserves a happy ending. I mean, even in real life, not everyone gets a happy ending. You know what I mean? And this is a slasher horror movie. Like chances are you're probably gonna have Sydney ride off into the sunset and she's, living her life, away from Ghostface, away from everything. Like Dewey met his demise, which means Gale. Like, how does Gale have a happy ending now? Her happy ending was Dewey.
Right.
He basically went any potential for her ever to have a happy ending.
And yes, exactly. So now if you can write in Dermot Mulroney to be a hot cop that she hooks up with or something, you can do that, but a lot of fans are going to have a problem with that too. That's the alternative. If we don't give Gale a dark direction for her character, is she's going to fall in love with another cop. It's probably going to be Dermot Mulroney and maybe he's the killer or something. And that is, predictable. You know what I mean? Like, I saw that coming from a mile away. You know what I don't want to see that. I want to see Gale have go down a darker path, and just, I don't know, like, what is she doing by herself alone?
The more that I think about it, the more I kind of want Gale to to die in a Dewey heroic way. You know, so like,
and that's pretty poetic.
Yeah, like I want, because she's always been so selfish. She's always like, I will push you down and let the killer kill you before I jump in front of that knife for you. Like, I want to see, like, I would love to see a scene like towards the end of the movie. I wouldn't want her to die in like the first like 20 minutes of it, but like I could see it like towards the end of the movie, like her going in, knowing she's going to die, but she, like, you know, maybe she has like a screensaver of Dewey, and, you know, her phone like vibrates, she pulls it out, sees Dewey, and is like, you know, kind of like, you know, what would Dewey do moment. Like, Dewey wouldn't sit out here and wait for, like, Dewey would go in there and try to save her before Ghostface kills her. Like, and she goes in there, she dies and saves the day. Like,
okay, hear me out on this. Hear me out on this, because I this might, like, I feel like at first this is gonna sound really stupid, but I feel like it makes sense. That all happens, right? Like, she gets stabbed in the stomach, she saves one of our new characters, maybe it's Sam, whatever, and she's left there to die, and then some more shit happens, and then, okay, let's say we kill the bad guy, cool, everything's resolved, and then Gale gets wheeled out, and she gives the thumbs up, just like Dewey. Like, okay, that would be kind of funny, though, because it's almost like making fun of Dewey's death in a certain degree. And, you know, Gale is now a little bit better of a person. She is less selfless, and that's pretty cool. I think that would be a nice way to end it with her characters. She just gives the thumbs up, goes back to work in a couple of months after being in the ICU, whatever. I don't know. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
I said just goes back to grinding away. Do you think that would be a better ending than her actually just dying and meeting her end? Because I feel like the whole point would be for her to, like, that's what Dewey would do. Dewey knows he's gonna die. Dewey would run into a burning building to save everybody. Like, I think
it's like, to me, it's the idea that it's a commentary on just Dewey's arc as a character. You know, like, that's what this is amounting to, is like, oh shit, like, if I am a hero and I try to save the people in my life, like how Dewey was, he was a hero, he was very selfless, she'll have the same ending, and she never wants to go down that route, because she's like always like, I gotta take care of myself, I gotta tell this story when it's all over, and that's really just an excuse for her selfishness. So if she were to do something like that and then survive, it would be like, wow, I survived, you know, and I'm a hero. This is great. Why don't I do this more? You know what I mean? Like, that could be kind of a funny thing to play off of. But at the same time, you're right. Like, it's not as powerful if she doesn't die. It's not as powerful of an action if she doesn't actually die. So I see what you're saying too.
What do you think the likelihood of her dying in this movie is?
I don't think it's as likely. I really don't think it's that likely.
You think she survives?
Yeah, I feel like they know how drastic Dewey's death was in the last film. You know, they know a lot of fans were going to be pretty upset with that. I don't think they're going to kill her. I feel like there's some things they're going to play safer in Scream 6, while other things they're going to go crazy on. You know what I mean? They're not going to go crazy they're not going to take every aspect of it to 11, but some things they will that they didn't do in the last film, if that makes sense.
Is it that's something else that we got to consider. Is it up to them? You know, like Courtney Cox, like, you know, she wanted to die in Scream 4. She could be looking at this as like, I gave you 2 more movies, right? And we don't know if she would have done this movie or not. Because you got to remember, before all the Sydney drama, she was already signed on. Yeah. So it's not that she could just say, you know, hey, you guys screwed over Nev. I don't want to be a part of this movie anymore. She was already contractually obligated because she was one of the first people to sign on. Now she's got the Shining Gale season 2, or Shining Veil season 2. You know, all that stuff. Like, you know, who's to say she doesn't say, like, you know what, I want you to kill me. Like, you know,
that's a good point. I feel you there. I feel you there. She might want out, but like at the same time, I feel like there's a reason Wes Craven specifically kept her alive. You know what I mean? Like, she's, like, in my opinion, she's one of the most interesting characters in this whole franchise.
She's had the most character I think she's had the best character arc, even better than Sydney.
Yeah, I agree. She's probably the most interesting character to me. And to kill her off, I feel like would be a mistake, because I feel like there's an infinite amount of possibilities of things you could do with her character, even at this point. Like, even at this point with Dewey being gone, and she did, like we even said before, that's her happy ending out the window. There's still a lot we can do with this character. A lot of weird things we can set up, some bitter, crazy character moments that are always going to be fun with her. It would be a mistake to kill her off, in my opinion.
Are you of the mind that it was better to kill Dewey than Gale?
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay, good. All right, yeah, me too. Craven is the opposite. Craven does not like the idea. He wanted Gale to die. I just think Dewey did exactly what it was supposed to do. I think it was more impactful. It put Gale in a compromised situation, because like that was the big thing. Like, I think if you kill Gale, I don't think anyone would have cared as much. You know, I think people would have cared, but I think like I don't think it would have hit the way that Dewey's death did. Like, Dewey's death drew out an emotion. It did exactly what it's supposed to do.
And it's because he's that eternal optimist. He's that big teddy bear. You know what I mean? That's why it hit hard. If it was Gale in that scene, it wouldn't have hit hard, and it probably wouldn't have made sense. Yeah. Like, those two things would not have worked, I don't think.
Well,
because of the character.
And like, Gale having to live without Dewey is more impactful and harder, I think, on her character than Dewey having to live without Gale. Right, because Dewey's always kind of been a loner. He's always kind of been, you know, a hermit. Like, Scream 5, we saw him, like, he ran and fled from Gale, and he's just like an alcoholic. Like, I think that's what Dewey would have been. Like, if Gale died, I think Dewey just dies at the end of a bottle. You know, like, where Gale, it's more interesting to see what's going to happen, because you know she's going to go back into like being, powerful, media personnel, and she's gonna try to drown out Dewey dying and be more, and
she could survive that. That's the thing. I think you're 100% right. I don't think Dewey could survive that, like, as a character. Like, he is so, like, he can go through a lot. Like, he's an ex-cop and all that. Yeah, no, he can go through that kind of stuff. But the hardest thing he had to go through in his whole life was losing Gale to New York City and all that. So I don't think he would have, if she would have died. Dewey's arc, like, listen, if you're hearing this whole conversation right now and you're just like, man, I don't want to see Gale go down a dark path, that would suck. Well, if Dewey was alive and Gale died, Scream 6, I would have no doubt in my mind, would be the darkest Scream film, and it would be all about Dewey just going down a fucking dark, really awful path, if it was the other way around.
It suits Dewey's character more too. Like, the death and the impact. Like, he is the guy that will go in and save the day. Like, Gale, if Gale ran in there and went back and said, "Oh, I need it," like, it would have made no sense. Like, the way that they executed it was perfect for Dewey's character. And because people are always like, why would he go back? That's always been Dewey's character. Watch
of course. He's a hero, yeah.
He knows a killer is chasing him, and he is so oblivious to what is going on around him. He walks up, he steps on pizza, and is sitting there playing with the cheese in his foot, and he knows there is a ghostface trying to kill him, and he's just like la-di-da-di-da and gets stabbed. Every single movie there is a scene where Dewey does something just has a brain fart and almost gets himself killed. Every single movie has had that, and Scream 5 did the exact same thing. The only difference is this time he actually died. He actually met his end, but it made more sense. Like, if you would have tried to do a scene like that with Gale, it would have been stupid. We would have been like, that's not Gale. That's not her character. I think they executed it perfect.
They also really grounded this new, not new timeline, but like they grounded this continuation in reality a lot more, because like this has been always a criticism of these movies, is that, man, you just can't kill Dewey. The man is always going to give that thumbs up at the end of the film, and for them to kill them is such a statement in itself. Like, okay, they said it was to bring back characters, whatever, but killing Dewey is like, oh no, we're back to reality. This is Eminem's fucking Scream movie now. That was a stupid fucking line. But my point is that we're reeling this shit back from Screams 3 and 4 that feel a little more out there. You know what I mean? Scream 3 especially.
It raises the stakes too. Because here's the problem: is if you've ever watched Scream, you know they're going to live. Like, how can you put Dewey, Gale, and Sidney in compromised positions to where it actually has an impact? Now, we're going to watch Scream 6. If Gale is in a chase scene,
she might die.
Freaking out.
Yeah, we're all going to be freaking out.
About to watch Gale. But before Dewey's death, none of us. I mean, yeah, did we? You know, maybe in the moment we kind of bought in and everything, but you know, deep down, they're not. She's gonna survive this. Dewey's gonna survive.
Yeah. And, you know, even with them killing Dewey, when Sydney's running around the house and all that, and Sydney specific, I don't know what I said, but Sydney running around Stu's house when she's like on the phone and all that, I'm like, yeah, she's not dying. She's about to kill one of the killers. And yeah, she does. You know what I mean? And like that, there was no tension in that scene for me. It's a badass scene. I love Sydney, but yeah.
Is it like, you know, like, and I always have people that are like, because I've said this before on like my channel on the Fate side, and people are always like, no, there is, you know, the scenes are great. I'm like, I'm not saying the scenes aren't good. I'm not saying that they're not. Right. I'm saying, you know what the end result is going to be. You know that she's not going to die. You know that Dewey is going to, yes, you're going to see him just basically get sawed in half, and at the end he's going to lift a toe up on one half and then a thumb up on the other half, and you know both halves are alive. Like, that's just what Scream has always done. Now you kill Dewey. Now Scream 6 is going to be that much more impactful. Any scene, any compromised position that we see Gale in, there is a real opportunity that she's going to die. When Gale, like literally, Scream 5, for example, like when Gale got shot and she's laying there, like there's a real moment when she's sitting on the chair and she looks like she's dying. There is a real moment where you're like, damn, is she really about to die too? Like, you know, like Sydney, you knew not going to happen. She's not going to die. But there were a couple moments towards the end of that movie where you're like, are they really about to kill Gale too? Like, she's like looking rough, right? And like, you're kind of waiting to see like, what's probably going to happen is Gale is going to save the day and then she's going to die at the end and da-da-da. But then she ends up surviving, right? I think Scream 6 is just going to add so much more tension, like to just anything, any scene with her in a compromised state, you know? Like,
yeah. So. No, dude, I totally agree, man. Well, so we're gonna be wrapping up here soon, but I do want to answer a few of your guys' questions. We have a lot of people throwing some good stuff in there. Riley Rage is saying we didn't get to see Sid grieving Dewey. She was too busy consoling Gale. Sid and Dewey's arc together was much stronger. Had more to dive into. Ooh, interesting take. Gale's arc was complete in Scream 4. Oh, I disagree with that last part, but how do you, anything from that you want to talk about?
I do agree that like not seeing Sydney's grief was rough. Like that was a real missed opportunity. It's something I've talked about on several occasions. Like that was a real blown opportunity. I don't really think it was because she was consoling Gale. I think it's just, you know, because you had time, because she had to fly to, you know what I mean? Like she had to have gotten the information somehow. So you should have had that moment. But Sydney and Dewey's arc together was much stronger and had more to dive into. I don't really buy that. You know, because after Scream 2, they completely went different directions. Like Dewey knew where Sydney was, but like they hadn't seen each other. And then even in Scream 5, they hadn't seen each other or talked to each other in years. Like, you know what I mean? Like even in Scream 4, they kind of never really they went like Dewey and Sydney after Scream 2 went completely different directions. Like they stopped being, you know, kind of big brother and little sister. I mean, Dewey was always that person, you know, at any moment, if, you know, she calls, he's there, right? He's answering, he's showing up. I mean, the whole reason Dewey got involved is because of what Sydney said, right? When she's like, you know, good thing that they have you there, right? Like, so that convinced Dewey to get involved and end up leading to his death, which also is a missed opportunity because that would have been, because Sydney should have felt like, I did that. I got him killed. You know what I mean? Like that would have been such a great moment and they blew it. But I just think in general, I think you could have done so much more with Dewey and Gale's arc more than Sydney and Dewey's arc. So much.
And I feel like, you know, as much as we criticize Scream 5 for not having character development for the new characters, the best thing Scream 5 does, in my opinion, is how it builds the legacy characters. I fucking love every single thing they do with all three of those characters, in my opinion. I love Dewey living in a trailer park and all that. It's really sad, but it's very real and it makes sense with the character. Gale having this, like, the big time success she's always dreamed of, but it's not what she wanted. I don't know. For me, Gale's arc, Gale has so much more to do as a character. And now without Dewey, I'm so excited to see what else happens for her moving forward now. And Gale in Scream 4 is, yes, a little nicer, but she's still Gale Weathers. You know what I mean? She is still like, your lemon squares taste like ass. She is fucking rude when she goes to that police station.
Yeah, especially towards
Judy.
Yeah, she's ruthless to Judy, man.
Right.
Yeah,
That's
she's trying to play. She's trying to play housewife, but it doesn't work. And they established that in Scream 4. You know, she's sitting there trying to. She's like, I don't know what to say. You know what I mean? Like, you know, like they did a great job of like. That's what I'm saying. Like Gale has had the best story arc from start. Every film, you just get a new dose of like a different Gale that is expanded. Like it's just they've always done a good job with it.
No, for sure. Tatum is throwing $2 in there too, saying which character would you choose to come back, Sid or definitely Sydney, like without a question. I like Casey, but I don't know her that much, you know. Definitely Sydney, but Tatum, thank you so much for the $2. I'd want to see Tatum back maybe too. Speaking of which,
there's every way to like make that make sense. Unfortunately, dead. I mean, you see Dewey has her urns, but. Yeah.
I think it's the like Dewey's sister. That's just an interesting character. Like, what could she bring to the table? You know, I don't know. If she's stayed alive, she could have done something interesting.
I think Tori also made an interesting point too. With Dewey, like part of the reason going back is that you know, he couldn't save his sister, so he went back to like try to save, you know, and I think that's also part of I think that's also part of the reason he got involved. Period, because if you think about it, like. When he's kind of like weighing the like, should I help or should I not? That's when like he goes and looks over at Tatum's ashes, right? And like that's when you get that zoom in of it. So I think he was looking at it as like, you know, I couldn't save her, let me go save, you know. And that's always why he was so attached to Sydney. That's why he was always trying to save Sydney, because he looked at Sydney as like his sister, and he's like, I failed to protect my sister. I need to protect this, you know, my other sister, you know, type thing. So yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I feel it, man. Tatum, thank you so much for the $2. We really appreciate it. Thank you. Craven is literally coming. Craven can't come on the stream today, but he is going to promote his stream for later on tonight. Cool. Okay. No, I'm kidding, Craven. Yeah, check out his fucking stream at 9:30. No, I'm kidding.
Bullshit stream.
Yeah, too good for us, I guess. Damn. No, I'm just kidding. Welcome. I see a lot of people are coming in now. Danny's here too. I'm so sorry, guys. We're wrapping up. You guys are the best, though. We love you all. We love hanging out with you guys, and we'll be answering more of your questions on Monday, perhaps too. Jake's not gonna be here for the next like maybe 3 streams, unfortunately, because I got a lot of movie stuff to do. Fate. That was something I was gonna tell you. I don't think I can come one day, but we'll have to. We're gonna have to talk about. We have a certain meeting we have to get done at some point, so we'll have to make that happen. But all the love to you guys. Thank you so much for checking out the Lethal Collective tonight. Fate, do you have anything else going on today?
No, nothing really today. I mean, on the sports channel, I got to watch the game and then do the live stream. Also, I think I'm going to do I have a channel. I know a lot of you are subscribed to it because I was going to do something with it a long time ago, never did. Scream Talk. I changed the name to Fate's Take. I'm going to do that like open channel where like we just talk about whatever, talk about topics of the day. Every time I do a live stream, that's kind of where it ends up going anyway, and people seem to really like that. Also with the sports channel and stuff, people really like that. So it's kind of my way to kind of marry both this audience and that audience, and also just talk about whatever we want. You know, like do live streams where it doesn't have to just be movie centric. You know, it could be just us having a conversation. I'll do videos too, talking about, you know, crazy topics, whatever. You guys can leave suggestions and stuff about like, you know, what you guys want to hear my opinions on, stuff like that. So I definitely want to do that. Start doing live streams over there, and all that stuff. So I'll when I get the first video up, I'll look out for the community post. I'll make a community post with all of that stuff, and then you guys can come on and subscribe over there, and then we can get that channel growing and just be a different light. Like I said, it'll just be more fun conversations rather than just like always having to talk about Scream or whatever. Kind of like what the collective is, you know?
Yeah. Nice. That's good stuff. I love that idea, man. That's awesome. Who's playing tonight, by the way, basketball wise?
Oh, I mean, well, there's a lot of games playing, but obviously the Laker game is the game that I really.
That's what
they're playing the Sixers, so that should be a good game. And, and usually the post game streams are usually pretty good.
I have a sports question to ask you afterwards. Nobody here cares about that, but I have something about Baker Mayfield we have to talk about.
Oh, and the Rams?
Dude. Oh, what the fuck, right? Oh, my God.
Man.
Oh, my.
Trash, but, hey, that was a moment. That was an absolute moment.
We'll talk about it in a sec. That'll be awesome. Everybody though, make sure to check out my stream here in just a little bit at 7:35 Eastern time, which is in like 20 minutes or so. Come check it out. We're gonna talk about just a bunch of horror stuff, 2023 horror movies we're excited for. Just Scream 6 stuff, just all things horror right now in the space. I'll be joined by Sarah and Carrie. I didn't forget you this time, Carrie. All the love. I'm very excited to talk with them about 2023 horror movies, Scream, whatever. We're going to talk about a bunch of stuff. It's going to be great. Come stop by on the KillJoy Jake YouTube channel. It'll be a blast. So once again, just wanted to say all the love to you guys so much. Thank you again for joining us on the Lethal Collective. I know this is only half of us, but the collective has spoken. Goodbye.